Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here. So in today's video, I'll be talking about the report from John Keim that the Washington Commanders will not be trading Dyami Brown, and that gives me a good chance to kind of talk about expectations for the third-year receiver going into the 2023 season. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. Also, guys, mic is still broken. Parts coming in soon, so it should get fixed pretty soon. I know this is an old report. It happened like last week, but didn't get enough time to talk about it. So I wanted to talk about that and just talk about Dyami Brown in general. So last week, a random account, Washington Commanders Peeps, says the Commanders are shopping wide receiver Dyami Brown in trade talks. And then you go into the article, and it just says like an NFL executive is telling them blah, 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 that Dyami Brown is getting, that they're shopping him. So a bunch of BS, unless this guy actually has a source, like he just says a random NFL executive, and this guy isn't, or whatever this page is, isn't very notable. So it was just kind of random to see that. And then, Keim comes out and said, or someone says, or Muhammad says, any truth to the trading Dyami Brown rumors, and then John Keim says, told emphatically no, Brown fits well in a system that will probably use more slants and the quick game. Feeling is it meshes well with his skills. And I was listening to his podcast, and he said that like the team came and just called him, and not many times do people do that. Does a team do that with these kind of rumors, especially like this small? Like it wasn't like it went crazy on Twitter. It was a kind of a small rumor. And he said that a team executive called him to tell him no. And he said that usually doesn't happen. So kind of surprising there. And not surprising that the trade rumors isn't true, but kind of surprising that, they called him and were like really wanted him to know that and wanted him to report that. So that itself is interesting. And I think it makes sense to not trade Dyami Brown, especially if you have a plan for him. If you don't have a plan for him at all and you think you can get a 5th round pick, okay, maybe you do that. But if you have a plan to use him, then go ahead and use him, and I think that's worth more than a 5th round pick. One thing that's crazy about Dyami Brown, like I knew he didn't have a lot of catches, but I went and when I was doing some research and getting the visuals up for this video, I was very, very surprised to see his stats. He had 5 catches last year. 5 catches. That's very, very low. And that's not, again, I'm not saying that's his fault. But 5 catches in 15 games is very, very low. 143 total yards, 29 yards a catch, and 2 touchdowns. Had that insane game against the Titans. Had a 75-yard touchdown. Then had like a 30-something yard one-handed touchdown in the, catching that in the end zone. That was his best game by far as a Commander. And then after that, it was really weird because Jahan Dotson, I believe he got hurt. It might have been in that game. It was in one of those games. And he was out for a few weeks. And I was like, okay, well, Dyami's going to get more targets now. Well, he didn't. He just stopped. He got targets in one game, and that was basically it. He also had 1 rush for 15 yards. I want to go ahead and look at the splits or the logs, whatever it's called, just to see which games he got targeted in. So, well, what's crazy to me, like, he didn't even, like, get targets in the Cowboys game. Like, that's a game where he should be getting his targets. And so he got 1 catch for 17 yards against the Falcons, a catch for 15 yards against the Eagles, 2 catches against the Titans for over 100 yards, and then 1 catch for 6 yards against the Cowboys. And I know the Commanders have weapons. I know they do. I tweeted this out right here, right now, a couple minutes ago. I know the Commanders have weapons, but having only 5 catches in 2022 for your 3rd round pick, just a year before that, I think that's disappointing. Like, we have great weapons, but he still needs to get more targets than he, got this past year. And I think this is a year to groom him into a number 3 or a wide receiver 3, especially if Samuel leaves after this coming season. So I'm not saying he needs to be a wide receiver 3 this year, but I'm saying groom him so that, like, okay, maybe he has like 400, 500 yards, and going into his 4th year, you're like, okay, we don't need to pay Samuel a ton of money. We can run it back with Dyami, and as a 3rd option, he'll be a very good number 3. And then you also combine this year with an offense that's better suited for him. That's what the team thinks. His offense is much better suited for Dyami than the last offense was, and also you combine that with his former college quarterback is going to be starting for the Commanders. Presumably that's what we think. So all those things, help out Dyami in terms of what his production should be this year. But 5 catches is just way too low. And I think, again, it's hard to spread around those targets because you have Terry McLaurin. We want him to get more targets. So if you're saying, Terry needs more targets, I'd rather have those targets go to Terry than go to Dyami. And even sometimes I was like, okay, Curtis needs more targets. Like, I think Jahan was the one guy I think he got properly targeted when he played, besides maybe the first few games back from his injury. I think what they need to do this year, and I don't know if they'll do it, but I think they ran the ball a little bit too much. Maybe you can take a few, maybe 3 to 5 runs per game and, convert those to passes, because yes, you have some good running backs, but I feel like your receivers are better than your running backs. And you have some running backs that can receive too, and Gibson, maybe even, Brian Robinson showed some things as well. So, I think you take some of those rushes and turn those into, pass targets. Also, I like Bates, but I don't need a 3 to 4 yard dump off to him. Give me that, give that dump off to Jahan, Curtis, Terry, or Dyami, because, okay, let's keep it real. Bates, he'll catch it. He'll get you 3, 4 yards, maybe 1 or 2 yards after the catch. Dyami, Terry, Jahan, Curtis, those guys are getting more yards after catch than John Bates and those guys. So if you're thinking about red zone, okay, you want a guy that can secure the pass, okay, maybe you give it to John Bates. But besides that, John Bates doesn't need to be getting receptions. Same thing with some of these other tight ends. Like, I feel like get one guy as a pass-catching tight end, give him a few targets a game, depending on who that is, Logan Thomas, Rodgers, or Turner, whoever it is, give them, their receptions. But I think we need to start developing Dyami a little bit more. I'm not saying give him 5 targets a game, but I'm saying, give him an average of 2 to 3 targets a game. That's not a lot, but if you think about it, I mean, how many targets did he get this year? He got 5 catches, so maybe he got like 8 targets. Like, that's just not enough. If you get him about 2 targets a game, especially like garbage time isn't as valuable, obviously, as real time, clutch time situations, but still, in garbage time, why not let Dyami get some extra reps versus the real like 3rd and 4th stringer, 4th string guys? Like, give him reps in those situations. Like that Cowboys game, I don't know why he didn't get any catches. Well, actually, I do know why, because the Commanders were like going absolutely try-hard mode to win that game. They only threw it 19 times with Sam Howell, and yeah, that was really annoying, because you could have gotten Dyami Brown some targets in that game, and that could have really helped out his development. But it is what it is. They didn't do that. So expectations this year for Dyami Brown, or what I want him to get, is, let's say, obviously, the 28.6 yards a catch is not happening. Maybe, at best, you can get something in between these two numbers, closer to this number. If you can get 15 to 16, 15 to 16 yards per catch, which is a lot, and then let's say, I don't know, 20 catches on like 32 targets. What is that? 20 times 16, 320 yards. Like, is that a lot? No, but that's more than doubling what he had this year. And an offense with a lot of weapons, I'm fine with that, as long as in those targets he was efficient, made the most out of those targets, got yards after the catch, didn't drop many, because in his first year he did drop some easy catches. So that's something where, okay, this year, obviously production is important for Dyami Brown. Like, we want to, or not even important, we want to see him do that. But it might be a situation where, there's too many targets for him to get like 40, 50, 60 targets in the season. But we want to see him be efficient with the targets he gets. So whether it's 20, 30, or 40, be efficient with those, catch as many as you can, and get as many yards after the catch as possible. So that is it for today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and let me know what you guys think about Dyami Brown and what you expect him to do. Because if he has a good year, you can move on from Curtis Samuel. Maybe you still want to keep him, but it gives you a backup plan where you don't have to go out and overpay Curtis Samuel if another team is trying to overpay him. You can be like, okay, you know what? We have Dyami Brown, and we can run it back with Dyami, Terry, and Jahan, and I like that group. But then after that, after 2024, Dyami Brown will be a free agent, but just something to keep in mind. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.